Greetings, everyone. I am Jenna McClelland.
Justin Carpenter.
It's good that you're here. We're so happy. We are in Junction, Texas, taking a little intentional vacation and really excited about today and answering some of the questions that you all have for us. The intention that we have for the group and for the community that we are creating is to develop a true spiritual evolution and clearing the path towards love, chemistry, intimacy, and what are the ways that we can dissolve the parts of us that are preventing us from really experiencing the true depth of life that we are here to experience. So really happy and excited you're here and can't wait to start answering some of the questions. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, dissolve the parts of us that are holding us back from our true self, and then also dissolve the layers of the facade that we've been told all throughout our life from this society we've been thrust into. So this is a space where we can go over all sorts of questions regarding our sort of personal lives, how we can refine ourselves, step into our true essence, and then stepping into relationship. So keeping it pretty intimate and personal. But yeah, I'm excited to jump into these questions. So
yeah, for sure.
We'll go ahead and jump into the first one. So this one was from Marie Louise, and it was on essentially the spiritual ego. And so she drew some examples of her relationship with her sister and just how the ways that she's sort of fallen into this idea of spiritual ego, which can be quite a tricky one. You know, and for those who don't know, the spiritual ego is using spiritual terms and concepts to sound like you're quote unquote spiritual, but really it's just a mask for the ego. So the specific example she gave was using spiritual concepts like discernment in order to judge others. And there are infinite examples of ways that these spiritual concepts are used in this sort of egotistical way. So the question was just surrounding that, which I thought was a great one.
Yeah, definitely a really good question, because I've definitely been someone who's participated in having a spiritual ego. It is something that is running rampant around the spiritual community. And this is not coming from a space of judgment. This is coming from a space of actually truly being honest, radically honest with what really is happening. And a spiritual ego is just a form. It's one of the three major forms of trauma. And the spiritual ego is never, ever satisfied and is always chasing wisdom, is always chasing information, knowledge, to the point that we are overstuffing our spiritual digestive system with so much information that we paralyze ourselves, making us incapable of taking action. Because spirituality should be something that is simple, practical, digestible, and applicable. So a trauma loop, if you could really think about what trauma does, it's going to keep you in a lower timeline. It's going to keep your body in you and your body, your auric field, your biofield, in a lower frequency. So when you are participating in a lower frequency, you're going to be in a loop, and cycles and things are going to begin to happen, or they're going to have happened and been in your life for many years, let's say up to 10 years. And so it's always the next thing. Or no, this is the next thing that's going to offer the enlightenment. This is the next thing that's going to awaken me a little bit more so my business can have more money, or I can go out in community and talk about the things that I know, or that people will think that I know more than they do. Or here's another personality type, and we've all been there. We get mad at people, or rather the trauma of this particular type of identity will get pissed off if someone doesn't take your advice. Right? So it's really understanding that when we see this, okay, one, great, we're seeing it in the community, it's trauma, right? But instead of looking outward and trying to assess and understand what's happening out in the community, spiritual truth and evolution is about going back in, right? It's about really understanding what you're seeing, and is this a reflection of a way that you're feeling on the inside, thinking, or behaving? Like, what are the voices in your minds, and how can we return back to the Christ consciousness that moves through us to activate the untapped frequencies so we can dissolve those false identities and the egos? Because at the end of the day, when we are in alignment with that entity of Christ, honestly, we could give a shit, right? So it's truly about understanding the spiritual ego is chasing, looping, and preventing you from actually getting to a space of enlightenment, getting to a space of higher evolutionary, I don't want to use the word status, but you know what I mean? Like just a higher frequency. So just a really important message to see what you're seeing, but also remember to take the journey back in. And this is what's going to be more important when we simplify.
Right. And what is the reason why that spiritual ego is constantly pursuing knowledge, information, all of that? I mean, there's several reasons, but the main one often comes in this sort of superiority complex of wanting to appear better than, oh, if I learn about these things, then I can appear a certain way or talk down to people. And it might come in not as overt ways as well, of just wanting to avoid doing that inner purification work. You know, so if I'm constantly seeking information outside of myself, the spiritual ego has got me always chasing information, chasing these ideas of wisdom, which is not real wisdom, but the ideas of wisdom in this sort of way. So it's used in this sort of tricky sense so what does the ego want to do generally? The ego's main goal is to enhance division, enhance the sense of separation. Separation is really an illusion. It's just part of the experience. And it's the only space that the ego truly lives. So even the spiritual ego its still main goal is to enhance this separation, enhance this idea that we are somehow separate from each other. So if I learn these things and better myself from my ego's perspective, then I can say, oh, I've done this or that, and I can talk down to somebody, or I can use these concepts to say, oh, I'm just being discerning while casting judgment in all these different ways. And like I said, there's infinite examples that people do this, or spiritually bypassing, using these concepts to avoid, so I'm only love and light. I don't look at the darkness, I don't go in those sort of areas. These are all the tricky ways that the spiritual ego can pop up. And like she said, it keeps us stuck in these loops. And so and you could say, while the ego's goal is all about divide, all about the separation, what is our true essence, the Christ within? It's all about unification. It's all about connection. So if my pursuit, and it's not even really a pursuit of information anymore, if my allowance of knowledge, if my allowance of wisdom to flow into me is done in the sense from the Christ perspective, from that connection point, then everything around me is moving me towards a more pure form of self and a more connective way of being. So it can get tricky because, that's why they say the ego or Satan is the deceiver. It's always wearing tons of masks, the infinite mask, infinite layers of disguises. And this is just a very tricky, likely, one could say the most dangerous form of the ego is using these spiritual concepts to disguise this tricky little demon.
Yeah, it's highly, highly manipulative. And when you're controlling or manipulating someone, a person is the universe. So you're actually trying to manipulate the universe, which goes against the actual laws. Therefore, the karma has two sides to the coin. It's going to be harmony or chaos. So then you're going to be creating more chaos in your life. And that's the debt and what's going to be feeding you back into the loop. And just a really big reminder is, as we're speaking about all the topics that we're speaking about within this specific container, a lot of things can easily come up. You'll notice if we're talking about some really honest truth and you're feeling uncomfortable, or if there's a part of you that's getting a little somatically uncomfortable, just stay with us and know that some of these points are actually here to awaken that identity so that you can actually see how it behaves and you can dissolve it and heal it. And one of the things that it does, it has us totally addicted to the dopamine hit of getting a little bit more excited about a little bit more information and caring more about what other people are doing. And so just a really beautiful reminder, if we're seeing this and it's something that we realize is trauma, we realize it's not a behavior we want to participate in, then we got to go the other way, right? And so really taking radical responsibility of your everyday behavior and how much you're chasing and feeding yourself. Like I think of it, I call it the spiritual buffet of bullshit, because there is a lot of I don't, how do I say this? Like, there's just a lot of shit out there in mainstream spirituality, and it's really not getting us to practicality and a way to actually remove these identities. So it's having the observer within really look at what you're looking at, or stop looking at it altogether. I think you guys saw in a podcast with me and Justin, I don't read books. Like, I don't really read much on spirituality anymore. I'm not really listening to many podcasts. I just really go within, and I have my own sacred practices of allowing the divine to move through me, to pull me into the direction of the information and wisdom that is going to come to me. I don't chase it. Information and wisdom drops in. We welcome the information to come. It's not something, wisdom does not want to be chased. There's no prostitution of trying to over consume wisdom. So just a quick reminder.
Yeah, very well said. Cool. So we'll move on to the next question. This one was from Loretta. And just to summarize her question, she essentially asked, when do we leave religion behind and know our internal spirit is enough? So when do we set aside from the religious egregore, the religious beast that has been created? And you know, this could be a topic that we could talk about for a long time, but I just want to keep it really simple here. And it's not as much about trying to step away from something, because there are certainly can be beautiful aspects around what religious groups and churches and things can bring. And so it's not to say that you need to say cut and run and say this is horrible and I should drop everything with it. But instead of focusing on the problem, which is how society conditions us always to be looking at the problem, let's instead pour our attention to the solution. And what is the solution in this? Which is recognizing that the Christ is within. This is the temple. The kingdom of heaven is within. So all of these simple concepts, which can be challenging to maintain and go with, especially when we're dissolving the conditioning of society. But that's the real solution. And so when we start to cultivate that light within, and we start to bring that light into our own space and remember who we truly are, then the sort of draw of religion starts to fade away. So this is a more solution-oriented approach. So, well, like I said, society wants us to, in this sort of focus on the problem. So as another example, say you have anxiety. Well, you might think, and if you go to a psychiatrist or you go to a therapist or a counselor, they might say, okay, we're going to find ways to get rid of this anxiety. We're going to talk about it in these ways. We're going to give you these pills, and these are going to help you get rid of this anxiety. But none of them are talking about coming to peace. That's the solution to anxiety. So if that's the solution in this aspect, you create that solution-oriented approach. You move from a two-body issue, the problem, as if that's going to get you to the solution. So you're anxious, you want to get rid of it, but why not make it a three-body issue, and move from you're anxious, you create peace, or you find peace within, and then the problem fades away. So this is the same sort of thing with religion. If you're in a religious institution, you don't need to worry about removing yourself from that religious institution. Find ways to cultivate the Christ within, to step back into your true essence, and naturally the religious layer starts to fade away. So this is a much simpler approach to sort of dealing with that. And just like we said in the last question, it's not about seeking external things to make this happen any faster, but it's truly just trusting our own process and knowing that we're going to be guided to move in these ways if we allow it to happen. So that's why I'd say to sort of start up in that capacity, but I'd love to hear what you have to say there.
Yeah, for sure. What I tell my clients all the time is I'm not here to help you get rid of your issue. I'm here to help you come to a space where you are no longer offended, or you no longer need to get rid of these things. You're elevating yourself above it, because God is not getting insulted, right? God doesn't need to be worthy. God doesn't need to prove or chase or pursue enlightenment. And us having that survival brain of needing to get rid of in order to feel safe, right? It's not creating the true essence of what is available when it comes to removing those masks that Justin was just talking about. So if the survival brain is working from, okay, I need to get rid of this, therefore what? Like I have to find, I get rid, have the solution. But pure awareness in that state of the God space is going to have, well, I actually don't want to interact with the negative. I don't want to interact with darkness. So I'm going to create lightness within me, because the lightness within me is going to dissolve and remove the darkness itself. And so when there's this religious inheritance, this religion mind that Loretta was talking about, it's not about needing to remove that before she pursues spirituality, before her consciousness will evolve into the next state, the next phase of evolution, right? It's using the Christ consciousness, immersing yourself fully in that space, so that that will immediately dissolve the neural networks of this religious mind, that inheritance that is in our system, is in our DNA. So it's usually like when I first started getting into circumcision, I was angry and I was like going against and fighting against the lightness. And what happens is, like, we can get so burnt out, right? We all know as truthers how many times have we gone down the rabbit hole and felt so deflated. And it's not from that energy that we are going to be creating light. We actually want more light and to show more peace. So the peace will dissolve the anxiety, right? Or more of that consciousness of Christ, more of that alignment dissolving and simplifying life in order to dissolve and remove automatically the religious mind.
Right. And just using a simple visual, you know, like if you have a dark room and you want to get rid of the darkness, you're not going to go in with buckets and try and remove the darkness and pull all the darkness out of the room. You simply light a candle. You turn the light on.
Yeah.
Darkness gone. So that's where our attention should be. Instead of futile efforts of trying to remove the darkness, just turn the light on. And that's why Christ said over and over again, do you have oil in your lamp?
Ooh.
You know, do you have oil in your lamp? Because we're supposed to be the light of the world. We're supposed to let that shine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And so as a reminder, I just posted about this, but on Sunday, there's going to be a great free workshop with Alan, who's going to be teaching a lesson on Christ consciousness. And it's going to be a great one. We'll certainly be there. And I hope you all would join us there too. I posted the link in both this group and in my other spaces. So hope you'll join us there.
Nice. All right. Next question.
Yeah. Next question. So this was from Tracy. And she asks, so is oral sex carnal or forbidden? And are there any other sexual areas that we should stay away from? So
you want me to take that one?
Yeah, take it away.
All right. So we have mainstream, we have the 3D reality, we have the biology of the body, right? And so I'm going to start with the physical before I go into the non-physical components of this question specifically. I'm a somatic sexologist. I went to sex school last summer, and I learned a lot about the innervation of how the body is innervated with all the sentient nerves that activate our pleasure senses in our genitalia and in our anus, and actually all over the body. And scientifically, there are a lot of things that are going to shine to, because it's innervated, therefore that's a place that I'm going to target. Therefore, because it's innervated, that means that's a place that we should participate in any form of sexual activity. So this is going to make sense here in a minute. So when we go into the metaphysical, when we go into the non-physical aspect of us being sacred souls living in the physical form, who are dissolving so we can be more of the light and really help us get to this golden age, we have to remember that God is always available in nature. And in nature and in the laws of metaphysics, we have how energy moves in and then energy is moving out. So if we were to think about, okay, energy moving out, right? Well, we all go number 2. So peeing, going number 2, crying, sweating. These are the types of way that the body is going to be excreting stuff to liberate the body from toxins of what it normally doesn't need. And then when we can think about the intake of energy, we're taking in food, we're taking in the sun, we're taking in, I guess, the touch of somebody, the breath, the sight of seeing beauty. and all the amazing things that we get to see. So to subcategorize, there's also understanding of the gutters of the world, right? All cities have gutters, nature has gutters, our homes have gutters, and the true gutters of our body is actually the anus. So if there is any actual forbidden space that is misaligned with a sacred sexuality, it's going to be something that's going to be more of anal penetration, because that is a full exit. The body was designed for the anus to actually be the exit of the body. So if we're thinking about the intake of energy, right, we kiss one another, that's one. We kiss one another's body. So like oral sex and that type of thing is more of an energy in. It's more of a way to worship and love another person. And then when you can think of the vagina and the penis as well, that is energy going in. But when we can actually think about the anus and penetrating an exit, that's actually going against the laws of reality, the laws of nature, because nothing in nature is actually penetrating the exit zone of any other space. And so what Satanism in actually, and this, I don't know if that word even comes to be a little triggering, but Satanism is where it's altering and distorting reality and making it go backward and turning it into another direction. So think about the cross, think about the ways that Satanism inverts reality. It inverts the divine masculine and the divine feminine. So it is a form of Satanism, and the fact that it's going into a space, anal, if you haven't caught up with that by now, it's going into an exit, a gutter of the body. And you can always, no matter where you are, if we're talking about sex, if we're talking about anything, go into nature, and nature is the template. Nature is going to reveal to you God and how to truly align with the Christ consciousness. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's many spiritual teachings, ancient spiritual teachings, that talk about the importance of closing off all layers of the body in order to truly go within on the deepest form. So I know I've learned from a Kriya Yoga perspective, and they do talk very much about the anus being a protected space and needing to stay preserved in that closed way, because it allows you to truly go within on a much deeper level. So there are layers that, you know, I'm sure we don't know all of them, but to keep it simple, just observing nature in that sort of way. And it's not to cast judgment. We're not saying anybody's wrong for doing anything in any capacity, but just coming from an observational, how does nature work? What are the exit points? And yeah, it just makes more sense that way. So next question comes from John, and he was asking, so are there exercises of silence and eye contact to reach higher levels of intimacy? So it's a great question, and there are many, but I'm just going to go over two ones simply right now. Now, this would be something that if we wanted to go a lot deeper into and sort of have more of a practice, and, you know, there are going to be deeper layers of this community in ways that we can kind of explore some of these ideas in a more curated way, where we can all speak together and go over these practices. But I'll just go over an overview of them just so you're aware of kind of the generalities of them. So one of them is to, so this is a way to sort of cultivate and enhance connection between partners using eye contact. So if you sit across from your partner, and you start with the woman opens her palms, and he places his index fingers at the center of each of her palms. And you're maintaining eye contact for the whole time. And for 7 minutes, the man is creating images to enhance the level of chemistry that he wants. So without exchanging words, envisioning how can I cultivate, and what sort of level of chemistry do I want to create and enhance. And he's sending this over to her through her eyes. And he does this for 7 minutes. So you engage in this practice, maintaining eye contact for 7 minutes. And then after that 7 minutes, you switch. So he would open his palms. She would place her index fingers in the center of the palms, still maintaining eye contact. And then she would be sending how she wants to enhance chemistry and create chemistry between them, send that telepathically. So you do that 7 minutes each. And that's a great way to enhance chemistry between partners. And then another one, and this can be done either together or remotely. So for 3 times a day, if you're together, then you sit together. But even if you're apart, this can be done remotely. So if you're apart, you set your alarms at the same time for 3 times out of the day. So say it's like 9 a.m., noon, and 4 p.m. It doesn't really matter, just 3 distinct times that you're both on the same schedule. And during that time, you speak value. So you sit quietly, you take a break from whatever you're doing, you sit quietly for however long you want to, even just a few minutes is powerful. And you speak values internally to the partner. So something like, I love how you smile when I walk into the room. I love how your hugs make me feel. Things that are enhancing the value of your relationship. And you just allow those to sort of penetrate to your partner, and they're doing the same during that time. And so what that's doing, and if you do this consistently 3 times a day for 3 months, you're creating a wire of telepathic communication between you and your partner. So every time it's done, and of course you can do it longer. Every time you do this, it's just going to strengthen that wire. And eventually you get to the point where you can communicate without the need to even do this practice, and you're much more connected in that way. So those are just 2 examples of practices to get into. But like I said, we'll get into a lot more deeper ones and can go into more distinct details around these practices later on.
Yeah, Johnny, what a beautiful question. It really spoke to my heart, and I could really feel the love and the depth that you have to cultivate more chemistry. And so my question is to ask ourselves, what is chemistry? Right? So like we're talking about, we want all this chemistry, but what is chemistry really? And how is chemistry ruling and governing our experience here? If someone is being controlled, if we're having the Matrix control us, or the news and the music and the way that they have all these narratives and these codes, these subliminals, what they're basically doing is controlling us through our biochemistry. If we can be controlled in our external world by our biochemistry, then we can actually be controlled, right? Our biochemistry is everything that we're actually experiencing right now. And how do you actually become a true sovereign? Well, you can control your own biochemistry. You're the true alchemist within yourself. So when it comes to intimacy, when it comes to relationships, there actually isn't such thing as a relationship. And that might sound a little obscure. So I could even use the example of the ocean. There really is no such thing as the ocean, because truly it's just water, right? Like you can grab it, you can put it in a cup, you can swim in it, but what are you swimming in? You're swimming in water, right? So that's the same thing with the idea of a relationship. So many people are going to couples therapy and this type of thing for their relationship. And, oh, I want to go and I want to fix the relationship as if it's something outside of the 2 people. So the idea of intimacy, the idea of cultivating a true harmonic relationship or union, let's use the word union, is understanding chemistry. And so when the chemistry is down, that's when there is a disconnect. So when you can level and really understand what chemistry is and how it's a maintenance, it's a valve of always being sure that the biochemistry with one another is activated so that you can keep the frequency high within the relationship itself. And so it kind of goes towards what Justin was saying about this beautiful wire. Because when 2 people come together with a harmonized chemistry, what is actually being created within that space is, think of a server, think of a mastermind. Have you ever been in a relationship or been with a really close family member or had a really good friend, and you came together and all of a sudden you ask a question, they knew what you were saying, and boom, you came up with this awesome fucking solution to it. It's a masterminding. Because a soulmate isn't just something you fall upon. A soulmate is cultivated. And we cultivate a true soulmate through understanding chemistry. And it is by these specific tools that you can elevate chemistry and maintain it to a space where the heart is always the one that is moving the valve. It's the true barometer for the joy, for the happiness, for the absolute love. Because again, we're in this physical form, having a biophysical experience in relationship to what's coming. And that's why our evolution is so important, because even though there might be a shitstorm outside, how can we control our biochemistry with one another to actually keep the peace, to level higher and unfold into tranquility, right? To be able to be in the storm, but also stay grounded with one another. So I just really wanted to add upon the depth of what's available, John, in your question, and all the different types of things that you can do to telepathically connect in such a mystical and magical way that mainstream really isn't teaching.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, that's the end of our written questions. So I do appreciate everyone for sharing those. And please feel free to share any more questions in the chat, especially if you're not able to attend these live conversations. We'll pass it over to people in the live chat to see if there's any other ones that pop up, and we can do our best in the meantime. But I did want to say, just on the topics of questions, just want to give a quick, apology for the miscommunication around when it said in the post, all topics welcome. When it said all topics welcome, we're really meaning all topics relating to our internal journey and our connection with our divine partners. Whether we're in a relationship, we're seeking to be in a relationship, either which way, these are what we want to keep the questions centered around. So a big part of that, which is a wide range of topics, because in order to truly bring in a divine partnership, you have to do a lot of internal work. So there's many questions related to that, and then on the partnership itself. So there's a huge number of topics we can get into, but we want to keep the focus centered around this, not everything else that's happening in the external, just so we can keep it focused and not be so diluted. And yeah, there are many other spaces where we can share and talk about other things. So I just wanted to make them.
Because the more we evolve together, and the eyes of a master can actually penetrate what's really happening. And the longer or the more that you ask questions, the more you engage with us, the more you're going to start to see how much bullshit there really is out there, and how this, I don't want to say cleaner, but there is just a simple, practical way to actually living a better life, because it's time to get out of this fucking emergency room of healing all the damn time. Our life is to be lived, and we're not here to constantly be stuck in these loops and eating as much spirituality. We want to liberate and create freedom, because from freedom is lightness, and from lightness is actually enlightenment to become the God self into the Christ self. So the more that we stay in this container, and we invite you to kind of maybe put down some of the constant, some of the books that you have, the chasing, and really give yourself an opportunity to let all that subside, so you can fully be present and devoted to us helping you get to a higher level of consciousness, so you can be out with the timeline. Because we're not fixing the timeline that you're in. We're coming into a higher timeline. You never try to fix the timeline. You're always jumping into a new one. So we're so excited about helping you jump into a new timeline. And sometimes you kind of have to just drop everything and be vulnerable and be open to seeing what happens when you simplify.
Totally. Yeah. Michael Mikola said, yes, more from survival to thrival mode of living.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's thrive instead of just surviving.
Yep.
Beautifully said. Yeah, so we'll pass it over. We've got a little bit more time here. If there's anybody else on the call that wants to chime in, ask any more questions, or give us any more topics to get into before we wrap up, but we've got some time, so I'll pass it over. And all mics are open, so feel free to jump in if you got something.
Hey guys, this is such a wonderful space. Thank you so much. Jenna, the way you're speaking on this is it's opening up something specifically for myself. The phase that I'm going through, I loved what you just said about you, like you're not somebody who's actually a big reader, and the concept of that chase, the concept of if I could just learn this one more thing, if I could, or the putting a whole bunch of attention into all the outside external sources. I'm very similar. I've never been one to actively pursue any of those kind of modalities of learning. I've done it purely from trial and error experience, and I know the information. Like I've always been this way. This is quite weird, but like so beautiful that I see within myself. I've just done things, and through osmosis, information comes to me. So I've never felt the need to like strive for that. Oh, I've got to, have this. I have noticed that there is some groups I've been in that I've noticed that others have, and they're really keen on that. They're always on to the next source of a gathering of sorts, and if they just go to one more women's group studies and all these kind of things, and retreats and whatnot. I mean, those are all beautiful because they're always getting you one step closer to finding yourself. So, but you can get on a treadmill of it and just be constant. So the phase I'm going through at the moment, going through divorce, but really finding myself. So this is so beautiful. It's very helpful, and you just speak so beautifully on it. Not with necessarily such authority, but you know your shit. You have really studied to the very the depth of on these topics for yourself in the way that you communicate them. So thank you both so very much.
Thank you, Tracy. That's so kind. That's so sweet. You're so fun. You're so great. Yeah. And just a quick reminder, it's you already are. There is no finding, right? And so there's that false identity that's making you think that you have to find something. This is about the process of subtraction rather than the process of addition, right? Think about when you're cleansing. I healed trauma. Well, yeah, I dissolved plasma. Thank you. In 2020, and to start, it was a process of subtraction. And you have to clean up those types of things, like I was saying, getting rid of the books, getting rid of that chasing, that hunger of this entity. Essentially, we call it the pretentious guide, and it is pretentious. It acts as God, right? What's so fascinating is the more that you become familiar with this archetype and this behavior, you'll see it everywhere. God, I think it's ants.
No.
That's what keeps eating me. I've got fire ants. Holy shit. I knew something was coming at me. Anyway, yeah, Tracy, that was great. Thanks to the ants. Yeah, but I'm really excited you're here, and I'm so happy you were able to make it all the way from Hong Kong, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyone have a remedy for ant bites? Shit.
Be on it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, anyone else want to jump in?
Hi, Justin. Hi, Jenna. This is Dana. Wow. Try some wet baking soda on that because I got bit 2 years ago and it helps. But I am so excited. I feel like a little giddy girl listening to the both of you. Just how you were sharing that you're not trying to fix anything, you're not broken, you already are, and we're just jumping timelines, right? There's no chase. You're already doing. And if you can learn to be still and unfold the best version of yourself, your best version will tell you all of this. So this is so beautiful. I'm so excited for this journey of the both of you so that you can shine your light to the world so that people won't have to struggle, right? Because people that have been in the spiritual journey, what have you been told? Read, 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 study, 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 go to here, go. And that's not eat, right? And that's not it. Because what eating makes you obese. But if you can just be still and have the mindset that you were sharing, you already are, and learn to unfold it and just jump that timeline and just be, and you will experience the best version of yourself, your best life, right? So excited for you two.
Love you, Dana. Thank you. That's so sweet. You wrapped it up for all of us like really quick. Maybe next time we'll have you come on and you can just simplify for us. But just cheers to you. Thank you for your support, and we love you so much.
Yeah, we
Love
do.
you
Thank
too.
you.
My king and queen of the prom.
Oh, thanks. Cool. Anyone else have anything, any questions, comments, things they want to jump in with?
Hi, beautiful friends. I have a quick question. Well, I don't know if it's a quick one. So so over the last, I went through a separation in 2019, and all I wanted to do for 3 years was just work on myself, because it was a pretty traumatic marriage and breakup. So yeah, I was not looking for anyone. I did happened to get into a relationship after about 3.5 years of being separated, and it was it's turned into a beautiful friendship, and because we kind of trauma bonded. I knew him and his wife passed away shortly after I met the both of them, and I became his friend. I knew he needed a female friend that was a more stabilizing force in his life. I mean, all his friends were just, anyways, just on the road on a really bad path, in my opinion. But anyways, after separating from that, I have just been just living life on myself and not looking for anyone. I mean, I hadn't looked for anyone in years, because of course, being married and stuff. But I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I'm super comfortable just with myself, so I don't see at this moment anyone in my area that I would actually be able to connect with. I mean, we're different people. We're not, we're not mainstream. And so I don't know if that's my question basically is, I don't know if that's a good thing to just kind of take the path of not even looking to find someone, because I feel like eventually I will meet somebody, and I'm not really in any hurry. But I don't know. I hope I'm making sense. I'm just kind of wondering if having this more passive attitude is a good thing, or if I should be more active, or I don't know, does that make sense? And I want to thank you guys. And I had a beautiful conversation. I'm going to actually absolutely go back and re-listen to the first part. I missed the first couple questions, I believe, and the ones I heard were just amazing, and I really want to incorporate everything that you guys said, just so eloquently. Just so with force and knowing. It's just such a beautiful thing. So thank you both.
Thank you so much. That's really, really kind of you to say. And yeah, I would just say simply, you're doing nothing wrong as far as where you are, and being in that space of being content, being okay with not searching, not chasing. I mean, that's what we sort of, you may have missed the beginning, but just not, this also applies to relationships. If we're always in this sort of, I've got to find the relationship, I've got to always be setting my intention of seeking and getting somebody or attracting that into my life, then you're using something in the external in order to bring you to that level of peace within. And so if anything is within us is bringing us into that space, then we're practicing the inversion. We've got to start in that, from that internal stable space of peace, and naturally the external falls into place to reflect that. It has no choice but to do so. So when we recognize that this is how the laws of reality actually work, then naturally we're going to find something, if that's something that's within our path, and not to say that that's the only way that it ever happens, but that's the healthiest way to establish oneself, is to be content with that, because that's certainly where I was for 5 years before I met Jenna. I was very content with myself and my path, and not looking for any external relationship, and just really focusing on how can I dissolve these layers of the facade and the lies that I've been told, and the layers of myself that I want to let go of so that I can be the best version of myself. And at the same time, not becoming apathetic or nihilistic and saying and pushing away. So that can be something that creeps up as well. So we don't want to be deterring or pushing away the potentiality from that to come into our lives, and at the same time not trying to fill that need within ourselves. If we have that need to fill that, then that's what we need to dissolve within ourselves. So as always, the truth is right in the center, right in the middle. So find that balance point between not searching for it, not seeking it, not trying to get it, but also not energetically pushing it away, being open to the possibility, allowing it to happen when and if it does, and just enjoying the ride and the process as you go.
Yeah, great question. And I invite you to, I don't know, is it Rosanna, Gia, or Rose?
Gia.
Gia.
Gia Rose.
So I want to, or I don't want to, I invite you to look at the word passivity. What do you mean exactly, right? Like it's really thinking there's a non-physical and there's the physical. So I think you're actually looking at a physical, being physically passive in terms of not chasing, but seeking and trying to put yourself into the right place. How do we even get to the right place at the right time, right? It's by really coming home to self and recognizing that when you remove a lot of those layers, when you remove those false identities, what's left behind? And when we've left the false identities behind, we've actually come out of amnesia. We've actually coming into our sadhana. And when we've healed the things that we've come here to heal, we can enter into a space where we actually can define our purpose. Because it's not a relationship that we're necessarily seeking. It's not a soulmate that we're just going to happen to find. It's when you want and truly desire a divine union, you have to be aligned to your purpose. So that's where I want to inject you not being passive, because you don't seem like someone who is running away from truly looking inward to develop your sense of purpose so that you can arrive, you can be on your assignment. So as you are really going inward to pursue how to serve, because you've done the heal the mind, evolve the soul, now you're in that serve humanity state. And it's in that purpose that you find a purpose meet, that you find another person who's going to match the passion that you currently have, and you drive that fuel in together to create more of what I was talking about earlier, if you were still here for that, is that mastermind, that entity, that egregore that you cultivate within the relationship of that chemistry that is being in development. So there's just multi ways to actually look at it, and how to set yourself up for the fifth dimensional encounter is actually a really beautiful teaching lesson on what happens when we actually enter into a space of the physicality, aligning with God, or allowing God to align us rather than the matrix aligning us. And when we can penetrate the veil of entering into the true metaphysical way of having God put us at the right place at the right time, we get actual somatic and emotional hits, because everything happens in a fifth dimension first. This meeting that we're having right now, it happens in the fifth dimension before it penetrated the veil into the third dimension. And so when you can have your biochemistry, right, you're doing the healing, you're doing the evolving, and you are opening yourself up to your purpose, that is going to put you into the trajectory of matching more with your metaphysical mate, which you actually end up meeting first in the ID. So how you can draw in that person from those hits of that recognition. And we recognize people, or rather we have stars that end up aligning us there. So it's meaningful coincidences, serendipities, all these beautiful synchronized miracles, miraculous moments where you just, again, happen to be at the right place at the right time. So it is that remembrance of doing the internal work, allowing the sadhana to come through so you can serve your purpose, so your purpose mate can align with that frequency that you are, and then you guys can take on the divine union the way that the celestials, the way that God is really cheerleading us, because we need a lot more divine unions. We need more true love that is real, that is alive, that's in our highest good. Our highest good is how can we feel most alive in every moment. And if there's jealousy or controlling of I need to be the center of their world, whatever, it's going to be a matrix need. It's going to be something that's more a karmic impression. So yeah, just to add on, I think you're doing the right thing, and I think you're in the right place, and I don't think you're passive at all whatsoever.
No, not at all. Yeah, beautifully said.
So beautiful. Wow. Yeah. I think the wording that I use is something I need to change, because that's putting like a negative connotation on something that is really not negative. And bam, you guys are, oh my God, that is just amazing. I totally resonate, especially when you said your sense of purpose, like finding that truly that path, and then somebody that has it like you guys are doing, then you work together and you can give to the world even greater. And oh God, yeah, that was great. Oh my God, amazing. I have a quick question too. Do you know what your human design is, Jenna? Just curious, because I know what Justin's with. You guys have gone down that hole.
Knows more about it than I do. I think I'm a generator.
Yeah, she's a pure generator.
And I've got a lot of motors on, and his actually fit all the right pieces for us to flow really well.
Yeah, we do.
And yeah, I'm a hot human design.
Wow.
Yeah.
Generator, I think, is perfect for a projector from what I hear, but looks like it's working for you guys. All right. Thank you again. I really look forward to, again, looking or listening to this multiple times to really incorporate. Yeah, because there's just so much information. I'm like, my head's reeling. It's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, it's so important to recognize that the way that this sort of equation works, the inversion is that the physicality has to be aligned first in order for me to be happy, in order for me to be content. But the movie The Matrix is teaching the allegory of when you know the code, when you know the inner workings of establishing my energetic blueprint within myself, establishing myself in that peace, then the external matrix, the external world around us has no choice but to reflect exactly back what we are resonating out of. So if we use that equation to our advantage, which is what the Christ consciousness is trying to activate within ourselves, then we do become, we recognize ourselves as God within this space, because that's the way that it was meant to be played. Or we can play the inversion, which is where we're just subject to the external conditioning, and that's the slave game. So you get to choose which game you play, and relationships are no different. Forming and meeting partners and all of that. Everything works in the same sort of way. So
I'm so happy you said that. So well said.
Thank you. Yeah. So
I think we have time for one more.
Yeah. Last question, if somebody else has one, and then we'll wrap it up. So anyone else got a quick one for us?
I just want to say I love J squared. I love you guys. Great show. Great topics, man. You guys are awesome.
Love you, Gertie. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Shanika. I really appreciate you. Anyone else got anything before we wrap up today?
Hey guys, I just wanted to pop back in. Yeah, I wanted to sort of exactly what Roseanne was saying. I'm not using the words that, like, my voice hasn't caught up with my internal. My voice hasn't caught up with the 5D that I actually have been living for quite some time. And when I had stated, you guys are, because I'm just being, I'm not finding anything. So everything you said was absolutely perfect as well. And as well, when I said you guys will be the gold standard, that this is it. The pairing and your purpose, Justin's purpose and that he's spoken on for years with the male mutilation, with this whole process that you have studied in, and the ability and the healing that can come and will come with like as a mass awakening of being able to purely heal themselves with the circumcision specifically. So that everything here is like I said, I'm not putting pressure on you guys, just that you are perfectly in this alignment and this gold standard of coming into your own alignment first it is just so perfect and beautiful. The way that what we can witness with you guys in your walk, and how simple it actually is. When you say that, it truly is. When you eliminate and remove, not remove, but to be able to transmute all of those things, all of those dark parts, they are part of us. They have to be integrated. But aligning yourself, and the true timeline jumping is just change of perspective. It's just change of perspective. It's not some, like, you've got to go and meditate in the mountain to be able to get to that next timeline. It isn't. It literally is just changing perspective. So yeah, you guys are just so beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, the gold standard is being set in so many ways of what we all are going to attain just by changing perspective. I love it.
I love that. Thank you for the compliments on the work, the circumcision. And you know what I tell the guys? I'm like, I'm not here to help you get rid of your penis having have been cut. I'm here to reveal and awaken the part of you that is unaffected by the facts that you have been cut. So it's not this healing, a stressful, crazy psychological, all this work and mental effort and energy. It's really about aligning into a higher light and seeing a higher timeline. What were to happen if I were to even play with the idea that this didn't happen to me? How can I cultivate and seduce new neural networks to get me to a space that reaches up to a higher timeline where they look back and they're no longer affected by the trauma? I had, this was really real for me in about 2024. I went down a really rich sexual reclamation where I had to look back at abortion trauma. And one of the things that I did was I meditated and went back to that 20-year-old. I was about 20 or 22. And I held her, and I felt the experience of me being with her as the giver and the receiver. But my role was more of the sister, like this mentor. And I just asked her what she was feeling, how things were going, and if she were to rewrite the story, and if she were to give her life a new title and actually take the pen and write her fucking book, what would the outcome be, right? And so I ended up having fast healing activation. So, because I used to look back with regret and so much shame, right? It's just a lot of shame in that space. That's not something who I would ever really want to be, but it happens. And how do I accept that? And it's by creating new timelines, writing, taking the pen and owning your shit. And it doesn't take months. Well, I mean, sure, a certain amount of months, but a lot of people are like, I got to heal. It's got to take me 2 years. Man, I'm not going to be where I want to be probably by 2030. I don't know, man, but it's taking forever. No, you're just not doing the right thing. It's not getting you to a place where you're dissolving those parts and elevating to your actual higher self, your Christ self.
Yeah.
So yeah, beautiful.
And that idea that it has to take a certain amount of time is a spell you're casting in order to solidify that. That's how powerful we are. If we believe it's going to take that length of time, then it will. Or we can believe that change can happen in an instant and we can dissolve these things. And
Sure.
So that's what we hope to share and impart in these shows and conversations. It's just layers of you to let go of, layers, not of you exactly, but of the false identity that you've taken on. How can we dissolve those to come back to that peace that passes all understanding, which you are that. This is not a place that you reach or that you have to find or you have to get to. This is a space within you that you are.
Yeah.
So how can we reach that? And this was a beautiful conversation within that. So yeah, please relay any questions in the chat for future shows. I'm not quite sure the interval that we'll do these, whether bi-weekly or however often, but we'll keep everybody posted on that. But feel free to relay the questions in the chat at any point in time. And yeah, do you have any closing comments
Yeah,
for
if you
today?
guys feel that you know someone who might be interested in kind of looking at this in a different way, but the actual way that's going to lead you to the evolution of self, invite them, have them come into the conversation, because so many people, we wake up every day and I'm like, how many people out here are waking up in peace? How many people are actually making decisions with peace? How many people are going to bed with peace? And it's something that we both really hope that we can cultivate in the world, is more of us being able to sustain true, authentic peace within. So if you know anybody, please have them come, and we would love to chat. And again, I just love having conversations. I just love talking to you. So holler if you guys have any suggestions for a theme as well. I think once every other week, and then a Q&A in between or something, but we're still working on it and we're having the best time doing so. So thank you so much for your support, and we love you all so much.
So much.
Yeah, I think that's a wrap.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.